Hey guys, so it's Wednesday, April the 29th on week 4. Here we go. We're going to do polar coordinates part 2 today. Polar coordinates part 2 consists of changing from rectangular coordinates to polar coordinates and vice versa. So we're going to be changing between polar and rectangular, which is our regular XY coordinates. All right, so first we're going to look at polar, which is r theta, to rectangular, which is xy. Okay, so regular coordinates, rectangular coordinates, xy coordinates, whatever you want to call them, and polar coordinates, r theta and vice versa. Okay, so from polar to rectangular is actually pretty easy. We're just going to use our unit circle. Remember, on our unit circle, x is the cosine is the x coordinate, and sine is the y coordinate. Okay, so let me get a piece of scratch paper. You don't have to write this down, but x is the cosine theta, and y is sine theta. Now, on a unit circle, it's called a unit circle because the r, or the radius, is equal to 1. Okay, so actually, this is 1 times cosine theta, and 1 times sine theta, but we don't have to write the 1 because anything times 1 is just itself. So if it's not 1, if your radius is not 1, then we simply replace that with r. So x is r times cosine theta, and y is r times sine theta. And that gives you your two formulas for x and y if you're switching. So x, the x coordinate here in the ordered pair, is going to be radius times cosine theta, and my y coordinate is radius times sine theta. Don't have my trusty calculator out, but I can get it out real quick. There we go. Okay, so all right, so this might look, like I said, look familiar because x is cosine, y is sine. If you've remembered that, then this will be really easy for you. So let's look at an example here. Let's convert 4, -50 to rectangular coordinates. Okay, so our x coordinate would be 4 times cosine -50, and our y would be 4 times sine -50. All right, we'll plug those in. 4 sine -50, close your parentheses, you don't really have to if you don't want to, is -3.1. And 4 times sine of -50 is, oh, is that what I just did? Let's do that again. So 4 times cosine of -50 is 2.6. So let me erase that. So 2.6 there for cosine. So my ordered pair is 2.6 and -3.1. So on a graph at 4, -50, if you went to 50 and went straight back 4, you would be at 2.6, -3.1 on the coordinate plane. Okay, so that's how you change. Pretty easy on changing polar to rectangular. Now, rectangular to polar, we are going to use the Pythagorean theorem quite a bit, okay, especially for r. So as a matter of fact, it's just Pythagorean theorem for r, but so let's go rectangular to polar coordinates. So first of all, for r, the formula is exactly Pythagorean theorem, okay? So the formula for r is the square root, as, look, if here's a point right here. the x-coordinate would be one leg, the y-coordinate would be one leg, and r would be your hypotenuse. So it's going to be x squared plus y squared equals r squared, and then we're going to square root it to get rid of the squared here, so it's square root of that. It's exactly Pythagorean theorem. Instead of c and a and b, we're using our x and y's and r's, okay? But it is still Pythagorean theorem. But that's your formula for r, all right? And then your formula for theta is a little bit trickier. So the angle is uses a formula from below, or here, let me do this. Finding theta is a little bit more tricky. So you have to look at your ordered pair, your xy, the one that you're changing it over. If x is greater than 0, okay, this is one of those condition things. If x is greater than 0, all right, sorry about that. I put a little if then here. So if x is greater than 0, then theta is the arctangent or shift tan. Remember, that's all that means. Shift tangent y over x. So your y coordinate over your x coordinate. So you would put shift tangent. It'll open in parentheses for you. Put a fraction key, your y coordinate over your x coordinate. Okay, that gives you your theta. If x is greater than 0. If x is less than 0, then theta is the same thing, arctangent y over x plus 180 degrees. So you can plug it in just like that. You can put shift tangent, open your parentheses y over x, close your parentheses, plus 180 in your calculator and get your theta. All right, if x equals 0. If x equals 0, then you have to go to the y and look at y. If y is greater than 0, okay, then theta is 90. Plain and simple. Okay, if x equals 0 and y is less than 0 or negative, all right, then theta equals 270. Which makes sense because if x is 0, we're on the y-axis, right? And if it's positive, if y is positive, if x is 0, we're on the y-axis. If y is positive, positive of the y-axis is 90 degrees. Negative of the y-axis is 270 degrees, so that makes sense. Okay, if x equals 0 and y equals 0, then we're at the pole or the origin, and theta can be any real number. So you would put infinity there, okay? So, all right, so there's kind of our, you have to look at the conditions. It's based on a condition. If x is positive, then it's the shift tangent y over x. If x is negative, shift tangent y over x plus 180. And then if x is 0, you would go by your y's, okay? So let's look at an example. So we're going to convert -2 to polar coordinates. So first of all, r would be the square root of, since it's negative, we're going to put it in parentheses, -2 squared plus -2 squared. Okay, so that's equals, I'm going to just go over here and do this in my calculator. -2 close squared plus open -2 again close squared equals 2 squared roots of 2. I'm going to go ahead and I'll write that, but I don't know which one they're going to want, so I'm going to go ahead and get S to D and get my decimal, which is 2.8. Okay, I'll probably use the 2 square roots of 2, but, you know, in case that they want the 2.8, that's fine too. On your suggested assignment, I give you my book, so it has the answers in it, so you can check yourself. So look on there and see which one they ask for the most, because that's the one you want. On the quiz, I'll take either one probably. Okay, so now that we have our R, we're going to convert our theta. Okay, what's our theta? So we're going to go look at our ordered pair. This is our X, this is our Y. So X is less than 0. All right, so we go up here to our little if-then chart. If X is less than 0, it's going to be shift tangent So theta equals shift tangent y over x, so -2 over -2, plus 180. Okay, so -2 over -2 is just 1, right? So I'm going to go shift tangent 1 plus, close my parentheses, plus 180. So shift tangent 1, I'm going to close my parentheses because I'm adding 180 to it. If I just add 180 without closing, it will do the shift tangent of 181, and we don't want that, okay? So we want it to do shift tangent of 1 first and then add our 180. So I get 225. All right, so my theta is 225, so my r is 2 radical 2, and my theta is 225. Close parentheses, there's your ordered pair. Okay, so that is converting polar coordinates to rectangular coordinates and vice versa. Next week, we're going to look at complex numbers a little bit, and we're going to convert polar coordinates to complex coordinates. And so complex is a plus bi, in case you don't remember that. But the formulas are kind of basically the same thing. But anyways, that's what we're going to do next week. So be ready for your quiz on Friday over polar coordinates to begin with, and then this, parts 1 and 2. And then next week, we're going to look at some complex numbers. I love you guys. You guys are doing great. I appreciate you. Those of you, especially the ones at work, y'all are awesome. Have a great day.